Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Last time we explored the most expensive ships in every Total War game, now let's look at the cheapest ones based on their custom battle cost. As I mentioned previously, playable naval battles were introduced in Empire, but ships have been present since the original medieval Total War, so let's start there again. In that game ships are present, but battles can only be auto-resolved. Occupying sea regions enables you to move your armies across the sea. The cheapest naval unit in the game is the galley, costing 500, and it's available to the Byzantines, Italians, Sicilians and the papacy. The dromon is actually worse in combat, but galleys are a lot slower, which makes them the cheapest. Next let's head to Rome Total War, where naval battles are also auto-resolved. The least expensive unit here is simply called boats, and it's available to the barbarian factions. The unit represents various flat-bottomed ships used at the time. Stats wise it's slightly worse than biremes, making it both the cheapest and worst ship in the game. The last game with dedicated naval units but without playable battles is Medieval 2 Total War. Here the cheapest unit is the Cog, available to a range of European Christian factions. At a cost of 500 it's the least expensive, but stat wise it's a close call compared to the Longboat, which is available to the Danish. The Cog is the earliest ship available to most factions and usually functions as a cheap transport ship. Now it's time to move forward to Empire Total War, the first game with playable naval battles. The cheapest unit is once again the galley, and it's available to all factions in specific regions. While the galley is obviously outdated in this era, it actually functions as a very interesting unit in the game. They are partially oar powered, which means they're fairly independent from the wind. Their firepower may seem limited, they only have 4 cannons at the front, but these cannons are actually some of the most devastating in the game. In numbers they can easily take on much bigger ships. You do need to keep them out of harm's way though, as they're very fragile. You might think that light galleys are cheaper, but in custom battles they're actually slightly more expensive than the regular variant. Now let's head to Napoleon Total War, where we meet the usual suspect. The galley is back again, this time only available to the Ottoman Empire. It's even cheaper now, costing just 260. Napoleon's version is very similar to the one in Empire, with the same flexibility and extremely powerful front-facing cannons. It's even more vulnerable than its predecessor though, as its crew size is much smaller. Veterans might know that there's actually one weaker ship in the game, the Doe, a trade ship also available to the Ottomans. For some reason though, this ship is unrecruitable in both custom battles and a campaign. It's only a starting unit for the Ottoman Empire. Next we go east to Total War Shogun 2. The cheapest unit here is the gunboat Chiodagata class at 500, available to all factions in the Fall of the Samurai campaign. This is the smallest ship in the game, only offering 3 cannons. One of them is front mounted, and because it's quite fast it can be useful for chasing down routing units. In a real battle they're just too fragile though and should usually be avoided. If we ignore Fall of the Samurai, the cheapest ship will be the Attendant's light ship in Rise of the Samurai. This is a small ship filled with archers. In the main Shogun 2 campaign the least expensive naval unit is the classic Bo Kobaya, a weak unit but it's cheap and fast, so still usable in the early stages of the campaign. Now let's head back to the ancient world in Total War Rome 2. The spot here is actually shared by 3 units. First the Assault Bireme with auxiliary Hillmen, available to Antony's Rome in the Imperator Augustus campaign. This is a small and agile ship that's actually quite decent at ramming enemy vessels. The problem is that it's very fragile itself as well. An Assault Hexerus can destroy it with one hit, and the Hillmen are terrible at boarding too. The second contender is the Assault Raider with Italian swordsmen for the Veneti in the Rise of the Republic campaign. While Italian swordsmen are decent, and there are quite a few of them on the ship, the main weakness is that the Assault Raider cannot ram, it can only board. The final unit is also on an Assault Raider, and it is the Triplos warriors for the Insubres and Senones. They're very similar, but I would actually say they're worse, since Triplos warriors are extremely weak units, making this one of the worst ships in the game. Now let's look at Total War Attila. Again, 3 units share the bottom spot, and they also share the exact same stats. There's the Skate Longship with Germanic bow marauders, available to most Germanic and Gothic factions, the Sagena with Slavic marauder bows for the Slavic factions, and once again the Skate Longship, this time with Alani marauder bows for the Alans. I'll keep it short, these units are not great. Archers can be useful for setting ships on fire, but the number of men on these ships is so limited that I would recommend avoiding them entirely. In Thrones of Britannia we find the cheapest naval units in Total War history, but that achievement is shared by 12 units. All of them only cost 150 gold. What they have in common is that they're either the worst spear or worst javelin armed units in their faction's roster. And for those who saw my cheapest land units video, yes, these are the exact same units but now on a ship. As I mentioned before, the Javelin Man can deal decent damage, but I'd still avoid using these in a serious battle. Since Thrones was the last Total War game with playable naval battles and dedicated naval units, we're actually at the end of the list. I hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching and until the next one.